This video was created by Danny Kessler, Associate Professor and Korea's first PhD in wellness tourism. Modern economic planners operate with a geographic bias when designing wellness destinations. They assume human restoration requires topographical extremes. This map outlines the traditional distribution of global wellness clusters. Notice the fixation on maritime borders and high-altitude mountain chains as the default parameters for spatial planning. Developing these remote environments demands immense upfront infrastructural capital to overcome the natural friction of the terrain. This capital-intensive model overlooks the logistical and physiological advantages of low-altitude agricultural basins. Rural agricultural plains are typically categorized by developers as utilitarian food supply chains, detached from any concept of human restoration. Equating premium wellness exclusively with extreme geography hides the clinical potential of the most accessible terrain available to planners. The travel industry treats the physical toll of reaching remote destinations as an unavoidable byproduct of the experience. We call this transit exhaustion. The biological fatigue generated by traversing rugged geography actively neutralizes the initial therapeutic benefits a visitor is paying to receive. South Korea enacted the Healing Tourism Industry Act to deploy a statutory solution to this exact problem. Operating under this framework, the southwestern province of 𝗔𝗶𝗃 engineered a specialized multi-facility agricultural basin network. By utilizing the flat, low-altitude topology of the region, the province eliminates the transit friction that plagues mountain retreats. The basin is designed around two strict objectives: individual metabolic restoration and high-yield regional interception of capital. 𝗔𝗶𝗃 establishes geographical accessibility as the necessary foundation for true metabolic recovery. To understand the necessity of an agricultural basin network, we have to examine the biological bedrock driving the consumer demand. The baseline state of modern urban exhaustion, compounded by daily transit friction, triggers a state of chronic systemic cortisol elevation. This visualization of the gut-brain axis shows how that elevated cortisol acts as a corrosive agent, systematically degrading microbial structures in the human digestive tract. This sustained degradation of the microbiome directly produces chronic systemic inflammation across the body. The resulting inflammation feeds back into the central nervous system, exacerbating neurological stress and locking the subject in an inescapable physiological loop. Standard hospitality interventions, like surface-level spa relaxation and massage, fail to penetrate deeply enough to interrupt this biochemical cycle. Long-term restoration demands a clinical-grade intervention to physically repair the gut-brain axis from the inside out. The 𝗔𝗶𝗃 model tackles this pathology through a synchronized two-part system, starting with physical spatial engineering. Traditional Hanok architecture is defined by an engineering principle of structural stillness. The specific layout of weathered limestone, clay tiles, and enclosed courtyards actively shields the visitor, drastically reducing their immediate cognitive load. The province embeds independent bookstore retreats directly within these stone clusters to control the pacing of human movement. These highly restricted, low-stimulation zones foster a state of deep neurological anchoring. By stripping away environmental noise and external friction, this architectural baseline forces a rapid decline in ambient cortisol production. Spatial stillness serves as a calculated biological primer, preparing the body for metabolic repair. With cortisol stabilized, the active biochemical intervention begins. The network utilizes healing food tourism, driven by slow fermentation culinary chemistry. Traditional earthenware 𝗥𝗄𝗄 vessels create the precise microclimatic environment necessary for strict fermentation control. The province standardizes the production metrics of regional ferments, like kimchi, upgrading local culinary tradition into a repeatable, clinical-grade nutritional protocol. This graph tracks the intervention over time. Standardized fermentation delivers highly targeted, bioavailable probiotics directly to the gut, showing an exact inverse correlation with systemic inflammation. Over a strict multi-day timeline, these probiotics actively colonize the digestive tract and outcompete degraded bacteria. The result is a measurable, sustained drop in systemic inflammation markers among long-stay wellness consumers. By pairing the neurological primer of architectural stillness with standardized fermentation chemistry, the 𝗔𝗶𝗃 cluster actively engineers the realignment of the gut-brain axis. Fixing the internal biology of the traveler provides the mechanism to fix the macroeconomic reality of the rural province. Historically, economic planners have treated regional agriculture as a low-margin, extractive food supply chain. Exporting raw agricultural products drains natural resources from a region while yielding minimal local profit due to transit costs and middlemen. This flow model illustrates the regulatory shift. Instead of exporting the crop, 𝗏𝗏𝗏 embeds these clinical-grade nutritional protocols directly into its certified local resorts. This effectively closes the economic loop. The region entirely bypasses the need to export its most valuable biological asset. The agricultural product is consumed entirely on-site as a premium, high-margin medical commodity. Through this operational redesign, standard agriculture transitions from a raw material export into an elite wellness infrastructure asset. The alternative to this model is standard seasonal mass tourism, an inherently flawed system that creates brief revenue spikes followed by long periods of economic abandonment. The primary metric for the success of the 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 model is the extended visitor length of stay. Repairing the gut-brain axis is a continuous biological process. It physically requires longer stays than standard weekend tourism can provide. Increasing the length of stay generates a macroeconomic phenomenon known as sustainable rural capital anchoring. Wealth from urban centers flows into the rural community and remains there, driving a high-yield, non-extractive economic engine. The 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 blueprint identifies the agricultural landscape as a sophisticated healing technology, anchoring the future of wellness in metabolic precision. This video was created by Danny Kessler, Associate Professor and Korea's first PhD in Wellness Tourism.